So hi guys, good day to everyone. So before we start our lesson, let us start with a prayer. So bless us, O Lord, and this light is which are about to receive from thy bounty through Christ our Lord. Amen. So next. So it's a great day to learn something. Today we will tackle about rhetorical analysis for ESP. But before we start the actual lesson, let me introduce you to the background of it. So before anything, let me review the register analysis. So register analysis in linguistics, a register is a variety of language used for a particular purpose or in a particular social setting. Register analysis is an analysis of grammatical and lexical features of the language used for particular purpose or in particular social setting. So this concept comes from the principle of PSP that English of a specific science differs each other each other in terms of its grammatical and lexical features of the register. So by register analysis, the lecturer or teacher can produce a syllabus which gave highly priority to the language form students would meet in their science studies and in turn would give low priority to form they would not meet. So in addition, register analysis is a necessary first step in an analysis of the linguistic needs of students in ESP courses. So register analysis can guide teachers in the selection and preparation of materials that should by their content validity motivate their student to learn. So register analysis thus helps ensure appropriateness of content and ito ay pagsusuri ng ang pagsusuri ng register analysis ay pwedeng maging gabay ng mga guro sa pagpili at paghahanda ng mga materials na dapat sa pamamagitan ng content o nilalaman nito ay mas ma-push ang mga estudyanteng matuto because of register analysis. So next. So based kay Ewer and Hodges Davis 1971, he give example that compared the language of the text, their science students had to read with the language of some widely used school textbooks. So they found that the school textbooks neglected some of the language forms commonly found in science texts. So for example, compound nouns, passives, and conditionals, anomalous finites. So pahapyawan ko na rin yung di-discuss ng mga co-teachers and co-partners ko. So this is the discourse by itself, rhetorical by itself, and analysis by itself. So discourse is the conversation between the text and the reader, and a formal and orderly and usually extended expression of thought of an object. So next is rhetorical, art of communication. It is the skill in speaking or writing formally and effectively, especially to persuade or influence people. Lastly is analysis, detailed examination of the elements or structure or something. So, etong so these three will be discussed by my co-teachers and co-partners. So the table of contents of this topic is the first is this defining discourse analysis. Second is strategies of rhetorical, and three is rhetorical analysis, and fourth is discourse versus rhetorical analysis. So that's all po for the introduction, and the next is my co-teachers.
Good day everyone, I am Rosian Jordan and I am about to report the discourse analysis. The term discourse analysis was first employed by Zelis Harris as the name for a method for the analysis of the connected speech or writing for continuing descriptive linguistic beyond the limit of a single sentence at a time and correlating culture and language. Originally, the word discourse comes from the Latin discursus, which denoted conversation, speech. So what is discourse analysis? Discourse can be defined in three ways. These are language, beyond the level of a sentence, language behavior linked to social practices, and language as a system of thought. So there are two domains of language: the text or sentence and discourse. Text or sentence, it is a message coded in authority. The examples are essays, notices, and road signs. While discourse analysis, it is interpersonal activity or transaction between speaker and hearer. So examples are interviews, commentaries, speech, and etc. Also, discourse considered written as well as spoken. So what do we do in discourse analysis? First, we analyze and investigate all those features of that are part of the total communicative act, context of utterance, relationships, mode and discourse, and so on. Second, conversational behavior is observed. Third, convention of conversation. And fourth, strategies for beginning and ending a conversation. Fifth, how topics appear and disappear. Sixth, how different speech acts are performed. Seventh, to establish underlying norms of conversation. So, why study discourse analysis? Of course, as linguists, to find out how language works to improve our understanding of an important kind of human activity. So, as educator, to find out how good text work. So, we can focus on teaching our student in their writing or speaking strategies. Next is as critical analysis to discover meaning in the text which are not abused on the surface. So, for example, analyzing a politician's speech to see their preconceptions. So, there are 5 types of discourse analysis. First one is narrative. So, narrative involves telling a story, or we also known as narrating, like that. So, in narration, involves several features such as a point of view, characters, settings, plot, conflict, and resolution. So when we say point of view, it can be a first person or third person. So in character, it is a person or animal, being, creature, or thing involved in a story. So next is settings. When we say settings, it is the place or types of surroundings where something is positioned or where an event takes place. Next is conflict. It is a clash between two opposing forces that creates the narrative thread for a story. And last one is the resolution. So when we say resolution, it is the ending of the story. It occurs after the climax. So next one is the description or descriptive writing. So it is a literacy device in which the author uses details to paint a picture with their words. Next one is the persuasive writing. The purpose is to convince the readers or listeners to change their mode of thinking or to persuade them to take a specific action. So next is the um, argumentative. So it is a genre of writing that requires the student to investigate a topic, collect, generate, and evaluate evidence, and establish a position on the topic in a concise manner. So last one is the expository. So when we say expository, it is the purpose, or the purpose is to deliver information about an issue, subject, method, or idea. So there are elements of discourse analysis. First is the coherence. So coherence is the connection brought about by readers, listeners, knowledge that helps him or her to understand the given discourse. So for example, Jerry, Jerry, may I have some more? Tom, yes, of course. Anytime you want more, just go ahead. So, in this example, Jerry doesn't mention what exactly he wants, but through the context of the situation, Tom knows that he is speaking about pierogies. Thus, despite the fact that Jerry is not mentioning explicitly what he wants, his discourse is coherent, as is Jerry. So, the next one is the cohesion. Cohesion is the connection that results when the interpretation of a textual element is dependent or another element in the text. Cohesion refers to the exist between elements in the text. So for example, Nikki likes yellow apples. She eats them every day. So in this example, the interpretation of she um, is departs another elements. So in the text, similarly the interpretation of them depends on yellow apples. In this case, cohesion is achieved by the use of personal pronoun she and them. So that's all for my part. Thank you.
A good day to all of you. My name is Roel Guevara. For the next slide, our topic is about the rhetorical analysis. So before we start, I need to borrow your ears, so you need to listen to me carefully because what I'm reading is the summary of the topic rhetorical analysis. The explanation and definition is all written in a PowerPoint, so you just need to listen and understand the lesson. Rhetorical analysis. Well, the term rhetorical analysis is at first rather intimidating for many people. It is easily understood, at least at its most basic, when broken down and defined. The meaning of rhetoric, the art of persuasion. So, what is persuasion? Persuasion is trying to convince someone on your purpose. What is the author's purpose? What are you trying to point out so that the reader that is reading the article or praise is being convinced? That is the meaning of rhetoric. The next analysis, the breaking down of some things into its parts and interpreting how those parts fit together. So analysis, as simple as that, breaking down things into parts. For example, you are um, reading a poem and you are going to summarize it by lines. So that is a good example of analysis in the breaking down of some things into its parts. In rhetorical analysis, then we examine how others attempt to persuade their audiences by looking at the various components that makes up the art of persuasion. Components of rhetoric. Although there are certainly many different viewpoints regarding what exactly rhetoric is, it is quite often divided into the following general areas. For number one, purpose. What is the author attempting to do with his or her work? Understanding the intended purpose of a text is the first and crucial step in a deeper understanding of the text and author. Number two, audience. Who is the text written for? Obviously, an author's intended reader plays a large role in how the author appeals to the audience. An audience consisting of children, for example, calls for very different strategies than an audience of economists. Number three, the appeals Aristotle, when referring to the strategies that writers use in their text, discusses three main groups: ethos, pathos, and logos. So that are the three components of rhetoric. Again, number one, purpose. Number two, audience. Number three, the appeals. Purpose, what is the author attempting to do with his or her work? Audience, who is the text written for? Number three, the appeals. Aristotle's proposed the three strategies, three main groups are the ethos, pathos, and logos. So first, let's discuss these three rhetorical styles. The first one, ethos. The ethical appeal does not refer strictly to ethics. The ethical appeal instead refers to the credibility, character, and the confidence of a writer. There are a number of ways in which an author may establish ethical appeal. So the ethos focus on the character and the credibility of the writer. Number two, the second one, pathos. Pathos is often referred to as the emotional appeal, although it may certainly go beyond emotion. Examples of pathos include the use of emotion-laden words, the use of description, and the use of repetition. Pathos mainly focus on the writer's emotional appeal. So you are, for example, you are trying to convince someone in a conversation using your emotions so that you can convince the reader or the listener. Last one, logos. The logical appeal refers to the use of reasoning to appeal to the reader. Examples of this include the use of definitions, statistics, law, and comparisons. So that is what logos mean. As simple as that. Refers to the use of reasoning to appeal to the reader. Logical appeal and the examples are the definitions, statistics, laws, and comparisons. Let's discuss ethos. I need you guys to listen carefully. Um, I'm going to read some examples. A- Acme Gizmotronics, the company that you've trusted for over 100 years, has recently entered the World Wide Web. Now you can purchase our fine products through the internet. Our quality gizmos, widgets, and the thingamabobs can be shipped to you within minutes. All came with the famous lifetime guarantee that makes Acme the company that the world depends on for its gizmo needs. Our spokesperson, Mr. Coyote, says, I'm not really a coyote, but I play one on TV. I've used Acme products for years. Their slingshots, rocket launchers, crowbars, pogo sticks, and power pills are the best around. And don't forget their high-powered dynamite. I buy everything from Acme. They are the company that I trust the most, says Mr. Coyote. Again, what I am reading right now is an example of ethos. Acme is currently supporting the research into a form of clean, ultra-efficient cesium-based power that promises the user in a new period of cheap, globally available power based on a small island off the coast of Costa Rica. Acme Technology Research is one of our most significant divisions. Interested in learning more about Acme? We thought you might be. Back to your reality ethos. Acme is not a real company. Contrary to popular belief, it's something we made up to use as an example of ethos. The Acme homepage is an example of ethos because of the way it keeps referring back to the character of Acme. Acme is a company that you have trusted for over 100 years. They even have a spokesperson vouching for their integrity. So again, that is why um, the example of the Acme company is called the ethos. Next part. Acme's known the hydrocesium detonation process. By combining cesium and dihydroxide in laboratory conditions and capturing the released energy, Acme has promised to lead the way into the future. Our energy source is clean, safe, and powerful. No pollutants are released into the atmosphere. The world will soon have an excellent source of clean energy, a typical example of energy released from the dehydrocesium process. Acme is currently working towards a patent on our process. Our scientists are exploring ways to use the process in cars, houses, airplanes, and almost anything else that needs power. Acme batteries will be refitted with small dihydrocesium reactors. Once the entire world is powered by Acme's generators, we can all relax and enjoy a much easier life. Back to reality. The example of this one is Logos. So again, Acme, through the hydrocesium detonation process, is what the Acme company has proposed for our life to make um, easier because the gadgets, for examples in our house like computer, refrigerator, vacuum cleaner, is proposed by Acme that we can use the hydrocesium to use its energy as a no power source. So this the cesium based reactor is based on the pathos because cesium-based reactor kills so that why a baby turtle breaks free from the leathery shell of its egg, catching its first glimpse of its first sunrise. It pauses a moment to rest, unaware of the danger that lies so close to it. As the tide comes in approaching the nest, it also approaches a small pile of metal, the cesium. The water draws closer and closer, the turtle unsuspecting of the danger. Finally, the water touches the cesium. The nest is turned to bits in the resulting explosion, destroying even more of an endangered species. Why does this happen? The answer one name, Acme. Acme Gizmotronics is supporting a dehydrogen reactor, trying in their atrocentrism to squeeze energy out of such destructive explosions, and they are dumping waste cesium onto the shores of their island, threatening the environment. Studies have shown that the hydrogen reactor will destroy the island's ecosphere in less than 4 months. Other environmental concerns that can be seen on the web. How can they get away with this? Costa Rica, where the island is near, has lax environmental laws, allowing Acme to do whatever they want, including destroy endangered species. What can you do about this? Don't let them get away with it. Boycott Acme products and call your representatives and tell them you support stricter legislation to prevent things like this. Back to reality. Pathos. Pathos is an argument based on emotion, playing on sympathy, fears, and desires. They say no to Acme. Page is pathos based because it relies on an emotional response from the people reading it. By stressing the helplessness of the endangered turtle, it attempts to sway people to its sides against the commercial hordes of Acme. So as simple as that. What I have reading on the past page about the cesium-based reactor kills the environment of an endangered species turtle. So by the said example, it is based on the pathos because it is implying an argument on the statements using the emotions of the readers or listeners. They use the sympathy to relate to the cause of the Acme company to the environment. Back to reality, Logos. So for the example of Logos, is an argument based on logic or reason. The Acme research page is primarily Logos based because it appeals to the reason of people reading it. suggests that cesium will provide the world's energy for a very long time. It is clean, safe, and efficient, of all which are appeals to the logic of the audience. By using such convincing reasons, it is argument. Acme hopes to provide the world's energy. So for the example of Logos, it is the Acme's new dihydrogen cesium detonation process. Why? Because on this argument, the reasoning of convincing of the Acme company is spot on. And as I said in the explanation, Logos is an argument based on logic reason. And the cesium proposed by Acme, the cesium will provide the world's energy for a very long time. It is clean, safe, and efficient, all of which are appeals to the logic of the audience. So that is why by using such convincing reasons, it is an argument. Acme hopes to provide the world's energy. That is the example for the logos. So let's start again for the summary. We have ethos, pathos, and logos. So for the explanation of ethos, again on the example of the Acme company, Acme is not a real company, contrary to popular belief. It's something we made up to use as an example of ethos. So we are using the Acme company as a character for its confidence on speaking or presenting something to persuade the listener and the viewer. Ethos. Next is the Acme's new dehydrocesium detonation process. Is an example of logos. Why is it an example of logos? Because um, logos is based on logic or reasoning. And the Acme's new cesium is proposing something that can help the public to enjoy an easier life by using clean energy fuel. And by them explaining that can provide the example of logos because they are reasoning something that we can use publicly. So that's it. The last example is the pathos. And based on the Acme's dehydrogenation detonation process, it kills. Why it kills? Because example, on the Costa Rica where the Acme company has built their factory for building the renewable energy, they are killing the environment are, that surrounds the company. Not only the environment but also the inhabitant of it, just like the endangered species, the turtle. So by using the said article or the example, the reader who listens to the appeal of the public on why cesium-based reactor kills can be used to convince the public or the reader or the listener so that they can convince that the Acme commercial that proposes the cesium energy can be cancelled or can be aborted because it is a danger on the environment. So that's it. Thank you for listening and I hope you learned something. Thank you.
Good day, everyone. So, I am Bianca Mayo, and I'm going to discuss about rhetorical analysis strategies. So, earlier we discussed about what is rhetorical analysis. So, now let's move forward to the rhetorical strategies that we can use or we may apply when writing or speaking. Okay, so the first one strategy would be defining. So defining involves telling a reader what is something means and what it does not. So it involves saying what is something is and what it is not. So it is a strategy that we make sure that you and your teacher understand what you mean by a key term. So it is giving a more precise meaning or giving difference to a term that is commonly used. So it is a great strategy that we can use in argumentative writing. So why? Because it helps the writer reshape the thinking of the audience. and see a concept in a new light by giving examples or providing description. So the next one would be the explaining a process. So with this rhetorical strategy, the writer explains how something is done. So for example, how to write a letter, how to play a basketball, or how to make a French fries. So it can be useful in a range of genres. For example, from a literacy narrative that explain learning to read, or to a cultural analysis that treats the funeral industry. So in order for a process to be accessible to the reader, so you will have to identify the main steps or the stages. And then you have to explain them in order. So one after the other. So of course the sequence matters. Next one would be comparing and contrasting. So comparisons look for similarities between things. Contrasts look for differences. So in most uses of this rhetorical strategy, you will want to consider both similarities and differences. That is, you will want to compare and contrast. So, comparing and contrast can be used for a single paragraph or for an entire essay. So, it is a very excellent strategy to use in writing or reporting. So, or making an argument or giving a speech to persuade your audience. Next one would be classifying and dividing. So classifying and dividing involves either putting things into groups or dividing up a large block into smaller units. So while this strategy might seem better suited to a biology lab than to a writing class, so in fact, it works well for organizing facts that seem chaotic or for handling big topics that at first glance seem overwhelming. So, it is very helpful in writing all genres of analysis, no, textual, visual, and cultural. No, we can also find these strategies helpful in argumentative genres, no, because it enables us or you as a writer or speaker to break down a complex argument into parts or group into pieces of evidence into similar categories. So next one would be analyzing the cause and effect. So focusing on causes helps a writer think about why something happened, no? So focusing on effects helps a writer think about what might or could happen. So cause is oriented toward the future, effect looks back to the past. But you can use this strategy by working in either direction from present to future or from present to past. So if you were writing or speaking about global warming or intending to show its harmful effects, so we can lay out our evidence in this sequence. So we can use this strategy, no? So for example, we can identify the cause or write the cause and what it leads to this effect, or pwede naman vice versa. Effect would be the first one and then the result of the cause. Next one is describing. So when writers describes a person or a place or thing, they indicate what it looks like and often how it feels, smells or sounds or tastes. As a strategy, describing involves showing rather than telling, helping readers to see rather than giving them a formal definition. So making the subject come alive rather than remaining abstract. So as a writer or a speaker, so we can use description in many kinds of assignments or in profiles of uh, people or places, or in order for them to provide a key to their essence. Next, so the last one would be narrating. So this final rhetorical strategy, so narrating, may be the most fundamental. So we tell stories about our families, and about friends or neighbors. So we tell stories to make a point or to illustrate an argument. So as we plan to narrate, we should think about the sequence, no? The order in which the events occurred. Maaring chronological order when narrating a story, or we can use an order in which the events might be the most dramatically presented, like in the news article, reverse chronological order. And that's all for my report. Thank you for listening.
Good day, everyone. I'm your teacher, Miss Charlene Ann Hernandez. So today we will discuss about the discourse versus the rhetorical analysis. Or in other words, the difference between the two. So let's now move on. So when we say discourse, discourse analysis, it is a broad topic that encompasses a variety of interpretative and explanatory subdisciplines. It is concerned with the relationship between the forms and functions of discourse. And nagkakreate din siya ng specialized text and the different process in which the text is derived from a specialized organizational discourse and produced by specialists who have mastered the subject matter's cognitive and conceptual organization. So, in other word or in this is understanding, kapag sinabi natin discourse analysis, it is a verbal exchange or conversation. And um, we have yung discourse analysis is yung study of language in text in a conversation, and also it is a general term for a number of approaches to analyze written, vocal, or sign language use or any significant semiotic event. And discourse analysis works with utterances, not the independent sentences, and it also involves the text, not invented, constructed, and artificial text. So we have advantage and disadvantage of um, discourse analysis. So one of the advantages of discourse analysis is that it can be used for a variety of reasons, and it also reveal or enable to reveal the hidden motivation behind the text or behind of research to interpret that text. Also, inaalaw niya na ma-view yung problem from a higher stance and to gain a comprehensive view of the problem. So those are the advantages of discourse analysis. So when we say naman disadvantages of it is that it is limited in that the array of options available to the various traditions can render issues of methodological problem, and it doesn't provide a tangible answer to problem based on scientific research. And yung discourse analysis yung under disadvantages is that it's nothing more than the constructive reading and interpretation of problem or text. Discourse analysis doesn't provide absolute answers to a specific problem. And lastly, the disadvantage to discourse analysis are specific to each tradition, but generally, proponents of discourse analysis believe that meaning is never fixed and so different in everything, and is always open to interpretation and negotiation. So let's now move on to rhetoric analysis. So kapag sinabi natin rhetorical analysis, it is concerned with the production of speech in such a way that it emphasizes the text's communicative aim. So rhetorical discourse analysis or RDA and genre analysis were used to describe a preliminary approach to developing a rhetorical organization model with functional and structural aspects for a business-based technical document known as a standard operating procedure or SOP. So, kapag sinabi nating rhetoric analysis is it is a art of using language, especially sa public speaking. So, nagfo-focus siya sa public speaking. So, ang goal niya yung is to persuade. So, kapag sinabi natin, so of course may benefits yung rhetorical analysis. So, it will enables you to think about a text in more depth, to appreciate how the artifact was put together. In turn, this knowledge helps you in writing your own text. You have a much better sense of what has been said and written about your subject, and where you have opportunity to contribute your own ideas. So, yung tulad ng sinabi ko kanina, so yung difference lang naman nila is yung discourse analysis is nag-focus siya sa text inside the messages. And yung rhetorical analysis naman is yung pinaka main goal niya is to persuade. Yun. So, that's all for my part. Thank you.
Hi everyone, so I am Rina May Likwanan, and for today I'll give some example of rhetorical analysis and the discourse analysis. So first is the rhetorical analysis. So again, rhetorical analysis, it is the skill to persuade and to influence people. So let's see here in the example. So we have here the subject, which is the door, and we have the purpose, which is to persuade someone to shut the door. So meron din tayo iba't ibang audience dito. So first is a friend. Hey man, shut the door, will you? So here we can see na kinakausap siya or inuutusan siya base sa relationship na meron sila. So next is the audience is the student. So please shut the door. So dito naman makikita natin na may pakikiusap sa estudyante na isarado yung pinto. So the last one is a son. How many times do I have to tell you, shut the door? So dito naman makikita natin kung paano dinideliver yung sentence, which is my authority, kasi anak niya na yung inuutusan niya. So let's move on. So example of discourse analysis. So discourse analysis is the conversation between the text and the reader. So here in the example, so basahin mo natin, Father, is that your coat on the floor again? Then the son said, yes. So here in the example, the discourse analysis says that the answer of the son is not the clear one. Kasi ang pinaparating ng tatay niya is pulutin yung coat na nasa sahig, which is yung bata naman, nag-focus lang siya dun sa question na answerable by yes or no. And that's all. Thank you.